Channel 2 News, St. Louis. With Lloyd Immel, Karen Gallagher, Zip Rozeppa on sports, and Ron Yaros at the weather station.
Good evening. Tonight, St. Louis leaders have a dilemma.
What to do about the loss of $22 million in tax revenue? The tax repeal is the result of a Missouri Supreme Court ruling today, and although it may mean lower taxes for you, it may also mean a loss of city services. Elliot Davis reports.
After heavy lobbying by Mayor Vincent Shamel, voters passed the general sales tax levy, plus a special $5 head tax on workers, which their bosses have to pay. That's generated lots of money for the city. Out of the $282 million budget, the sales head tax account for about $22 million, roughly 6% of the budget. That money has paid for a host of services like salt crews and street cleaning, and has prevented wholesale layoffs and service cuts in other areas. But 3 city companies challenged the ordinance, saying the ballot measure wasn't worded clearly enough for residents to know exactly what they were voting for. Today, the court agreed, and that's bad news, says St. Louis Comptroller Paul Barra.
When we passed this tax, it was probably the only way that we could keep the services at where they were.
Barra says unless city officials can convince the court to reverse the ruling or straighten out the wording in the ordinance and get voters to approve the measure again, the city will have to find a way to make up the $22 million loss, and that won't be easy.
I think that you would have to see probably some police, some fire. Every department would have to take some percentage of a cut.
A spokesman for Mayor Shamel says the city plans to ask the Supreme Court for a rehearing, but the Shamel administration isn't saying what its next move will be if today's ruling stands. Elliot Davis, Channel 2 News, St. Louis.
A plan to reopen an East Side meatpacking plant is infuriating a local union tonight. The plant is being reopened with the help of millions of dollars in incentives from the government. Labor leaders say those incentives will rip off taxpayers and workers. Two-night reporter Russ Mitchell joins us now from the newsroom with more. Russ?
Lloyd, the controversy centers on the Swift independent packing plant in National City. The plant was closed a year ago when union workers rejected a contract proposal from the company that called for wage concessions. The plant is scheduled to reopen this spring with a lighter payroll and non-union employees.
Well, I don't think it's so great.
Johnny Holmes of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union does not like what St. Clair County and the state of Illinois have done to get Swift to reopen the National City plant. The state and county are giving the company a $3 to $5 million incentive package that includes tax breaks and partial government funding to Swift for employee training costs. 4 years ago, some workers at the plant made about $17 an hour. But based on recent contracts at other Swift independent plants, workers coming in this summer can expect to make between $4.75 and $6 an hour. The union calls those wages ridiculous and says the cost of the incentive program is too high.
The people here in this community are going to pay for it. And the people that work for them they're going to all be getting welfare. I don't see how it can boost the economy when the county is going to have to pay these people to work for Swift. They're going to pay the utilities, taxes. How can it be a boost?
St. Clair County officials tonight stand by their incentives.
We're taking an area with one of the highest unemployment figures in the nation, and we're adding 400 jobs, and that can't be all bad.
Now, Wagner also says the incentive program given to Swift is in line with other such packages offered to companies in Illinois. The union says it will try to organize workers once the Swift independent plant reopens. Swift officials say they'll begin hiring next month. Karen?
Thanks, Russ. In tonight's Money Matters, the Dr. Pepper Company will join its Uncola partner 7-Up in the near future. The Dr. Pepper Company plans to move its manufacturing operation from Dallas to the St. Louis-based plant by June. Company officials say it's an economic move, and the relocation will mean the transfer of 50 to 60 jobs to our area. And today, Ford hit the 4 million mark. Company and union officials drove number 4 million, an Aerostar minivan, off the assembly line at the Hazelwood plant.
And on Wall Street, another record-setting day. The Dow Jones jumped 54 points to close at 2,237 in active trading. Investors apparently in a buying mood after a 3-day weekend. Speaking of buying, here's your credit card of the future. It's called the Super Smart Card. A credit card, a mini computer, and a portable bank all rolled into one. It helps you make out a check without ever lifting a pen. It keeps notes and even tells time. Now, here's how it works. You choose the account you want to use, then you punch in your ID number, and then enter the amount of purchase. The Super Smart card checks your account balance, authorizes the sale, and automatically deducts the amount from your account. There's only one catch. You're going to have to wait to get one because it's only being test marketed now in Alabama. Mass production is 3 years away.
Only months from now, America's toy industry will take a giant leap into the future. Channel 2's Rocky Madden reports your TV, your kids, and their toys will be tied together like never before.
If you think your children are now too mesmerized by television, and if you're going broke buying the TV-related action toys, just wait until this fall.
Excitement has already begun in living rooms just like yours.
Come on, Dad, it's time, it's time!
It's time for the new toy technology called interactive toys. Beginning this September, some children's programs like this one called Saber Rider will emit unseen and inaudible signals. Microchips and specially designed toy guns and robots react to the signals, allowing children to be a part of their favorite cartoon. The toys cost from $30 to $250. Program producers say the shows are entertaining even if the children don't own the toys. Brian Lacey is vice president of a St. Louis company that makes Saber Rider.
So if you do not have the technology, you will be watching the program and will not be able to notice any difference.
Terry Bloomberg is a St. Louis member of Action for Children's Television. Bloomberg fears many parents can't afford the toys, causing their children to feel left out.
The child is going to feel he's not because he's going to have seen somebody down the street with it, or it's going to even be shown on television, and he'll see what the possibilities are. And if he doesn't have those possibilities and he can't make it do that, he's going to feel like he's inept.
We live in a society that has multiple levels of economic success. There are children who have different material possessions, designer jeans and not designer jeans. And the same is true in the toy business.
At least 3 companies will be releasing cartoon programs like this and their toy counterparts in the fall of this year. Some are saying these cartoons will give a big boost to the $12 billion a year toy industry. Rocky Madden, Channel 2 News.
I think we only had G.I. Joes and Barbie dolls.
Yeah, I think I missed even Barbie dolls.
Okay. Coming up, you just watched the Soviets showing off their military might on ABC's America Tonight.
But in one expert's opinion, Soviet takeover of the United States is highly unlikely. First, here's Ron with a preview on the forecast.
It's been snowing all day in southern Missouri and Illinois, but that snow and all these clouds overhead will finally be moving on out of here by tomorrow. We'll have the forecast a little bit later.
7 people, including 3 small children, are confirmed dead tonight near McLeansboro in a collision between a semi-truck loaded with cattle and a passenger car. The tragic accident happened on Illinois Route 242, about 9 miles north of the southern Illinois town of McLeansboro. Details are still sketchy, and there are no identities yet on the occupants of the car or the driver of the truck, who was not injured. Tonight, at least 51 are dead, 230 others injured in a train wreck in Brazil. A commuter train slammed into a second passenger train during a driving rainstorm. It happened about 17 miles west of Sao Paulo, while one train was switching tracks. Rescue efforts were hampered by heavy rain and by a 24-foot drop next to the tracks. Helicopters and ambulances had a tough time reaching those victims.
And in New York tonight, 25 are injured in another train accident. A crowded commuter train collided head-on with an empty train in New York's north suburbs. 4 cars of the train derailed. Officials say the Metro-North commuter trains collided in a rundown section of the Bronx. The trains were traveling at slow speeds at the time of the crash.
Arraignment is set for tomorrow for a New Haven man suspected of sexually abusing 2 10-year-old boys.
Both of the alleged victims were Cub Scouts, and the suspect was recently asked to give up his duty as a Cub Scout leader in New Haven. 56-year-old William Odell was arrested on Friday. Parents of one of the victims called police, who then questioned several young boys before arresting Odell. Police are not commenting on when the suspected abuse took place.
The man nominated to take over as the CIA director is in the hot seat tonight. Today, during the confirmation hearing of Robert Gates before the Senate Intelligence Committee, the current deputy director testified there were shortcomings in the agency's participation in the Iran project. However, Gates also said he had no firm information about the diversion of arms sales funds to the Nicaraguan rebels before it became public knowledge.
There was no evidence at any time during this period of involvement by CIA, NSC, or U.S. government officials, nor any concern expressed about a possible violation of law. At no point from 1 October to 25 November did I receive any further information about a possible diversion of funds. I regarded what little information I had as worrisome but extraordinarily flimsy.
The nominee says that in light of the scandal, he wishes he would have launched a more intense investigation at the time.
There's been a lot of talk across the country about the ABC series America, but what do the Soviets think of it? Well, they're none too pleased, according to one Soviet diplomat in Washington today. Oleg Benyuk, head of the Soviet embassy, says the TV drama is poisoning the minds of millions of Americans. The Soviet spokesman says cars parked at the embassy have had their tires punctured several times this week, and he believes it's a reaction to the America series. And now that the miniseries America has set in on us viewers for 3 nights, we've probably begun to comfort ourselves with the words of the show's producers, it's only fiction. An America we no longer recognize, transformed and dominated by a foreign government whose ideology grates deeply across the grain of our cherished freedoms. Last night, a military expert told us it could happen. But tonight, another view from a man with credentials on the subject, Wayne Santoni, a Russian historian at SIU Edwardsville.
I can't conceive of any advantages for the Soviet Union in a takeover. They gain nothing from it. Again, let's assume they've taken it over. They either have to govern it through reliable Americans, which means they are going to have to leave a great deal of power in the hands of those Americans.
This is partly the situation in the miniseries America.